right, welcome back to Web3 Whispers, where we talk to the geek-brains and the chads that power Web3. I'm Mathias with my co-host Steeb.
Wow,
Who
you
we
got
got
a
on
you
today?
got a new intro today. I'm
I change
Mathias.
it up every time.
Every time it's a little bit different. You know, you can throw down the flashcards finally, right? It's
Exactly. And
I
then
love
it'll be
that.
like totally different.
Yeah. Well, we have Trey, what, and
What?
Wheezy. I like that. And we have Craft here. And they're all from Vivid. So first, before you guys introduce yourself, I just want to say this project has both Matthias and I extremely stoked. Aki Bright's artwork is absolutely stunning. I did so much digging into his Twitter and just looking at some of his artwork and the history of his page and whatnot, and it's just all super enticing. Trey showed us the presentation yesterday, and the lore that you guys injected into this project to give it a heart and soul is enticing, colorful, and just all around, like, it's gorgeous. Speaking of soul, like, I know man's consumption of the soul by machine is a huge theme that's stitched throughout the art, both literary and visual. But I don't want to do all the talking. You guys introduce yourself, let the listeners know who you are and how you're connected to the project.
Sweet. I guess I'll go first. So yeah, my name's WHAAAWHAAA. That's WH3A's 2 times.
WHAAAWHAAA.
And, what's up?
I said WHAAAWHAAA.
WHAAWHAAA. That's right. That's how you guys can find me. I used to go by another name called Lanykins, but that one. The reason I moved away from it was funny. We were talking to the Japanese team. They called me Wawa-san, and after that, I was kind of doomed to be branded as Wawa from then on. So
You're getting the sans and senpais. I love it.
oh, it's hilarious. It's actually funny. I got senpai not that long ago too, because I bought this one girl's art from Foundation,
Hell
and
yeah.
then this one who was trying to get me to buy their art hopped in the DMs, and she's just like, "Wawa senpai, check out my art."
I love that. That's a dream. That's a dream. I'm gonna
Yeah.
Matthias and I are
It's
gonna
a good vibe to be on, right?
yeah, Matthias and I are gonna have to change our Twitter handles to Steeb Senpai and Matthias Senpai San.
Oh, let's
Senpai
go.
goals.
Yeah.
That's before it. Yeah, so that's me, and then kind of a little bit about me, my background. That is, I've been kind of hovering around the NFT space for just a little bit over a year, about a year and a month. When I first got into it, didn't really know too much about what I was doing. I just know that when I started reading NFTs around like March, even a little bit earlier than that, ideas were kind of flying in my head about what to do with them, because I come from music for the most part, and marketing a little bit here and there. And then started a couple companies out of it, trying to figure out how to move around the space. Launched projects on like Tezos, and then another one on Polygon, which that one was. Those are some Lovecraftian nightmares. I won't tell you their names. You can probably find them though if you search hard enough. And then eventually got really seriously into the space, like proper, in September, when generative projects were starting to become really popular and people were kind of starting to figure out the rhythm. And then after that, got involved with a bunch, starting with Cringe Crows to Creepy Girls to IMX Punks at one point, and then eventually moved into the Creeps, which if you guys are familiar with Creeps, that one went insane.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, that's
then,
crazy.
yeah, and in the back of my mind, I always kind of wanted to start to figure out how to make a project. So then we start somewhere along the lines of thinking about manga a little bit, and I was looking at anime NFT projects at the time, and I wasn't really satisfied with how a lot of them were delivering. So a bunch of stuff happened, Snow Dog down, and a whole bunch of other things with the other 2 team members who aren't here, and then end up here crafting Trey in the mix somehow, and then yeah, that's kind of my origin story a little bit there. There's a lot more, but I don't want to take up too much time. So
Hell yeah.
there you are.
I appreciate the intro.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, so you were in Snow Dog? Did you say you were in Snow Dog or
No, so the way the project actually ended up getting founded was through or not founded, funded through the other 2 members in the group here. So Zap and Tracksuit Cat. When Snow Dog out ended up getting rugged. I don't know the full story.
I was in that. I mean, I wasn't like a part of the group or anything. I was just like holding. Yeah, it was wild.
It was super wild. So Zab managed to. He basically got in touch with the founder in some way. I don't remember even what the name is, but ended up getting a fun started because they was like, let us start a community project up with whoever is left here. They've been picking up the scraps, trying to get projects off the ground, and yeah, eventually they pitched they wanted to do an NFT project to me, and I was like, well, yeah, I've been doing a bunch of work trying to figure out the space, so let's give it a go. And then months later, here we are.
Hell yeah.
Wow, that is actually so so wild. I knew I recognized Zap. I was like, that the handle looks familiar. I'm like, where do I know that? And I was in the Snowdog in the old Discord and then the new Discord when they started picking people. And wow, it's like crypto is such a small world. Like you get rugged in one place, you get rugged on AVAX, and you find a whole
You
new
get
thing.
rugged in another.
Yeah, then you get rugged in another one. It's like exactly, it's amazing.
And hopefully by that like
That's so
ninth
wild.
time you're done getting rugged, you find a project that's gold, right?
Like this
Oh,
time's
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
No, that's amazing
funny
though.
story though, yeah.
I'm still holding my snow dog, so I'm hodling.
Oh, you gotta
I'm
join the
hodling.
Discord. Use the collab land so you can get your holder roll.
Oh shit. Okay, yeah, I gotta get back in there. I was lurking there for a while, but I'm like, I'm not adding any value. I'm just like, and I get so many Discord pings and stuff. I'll get back in there though. I'll have to DM Zap.
Definitely check that out, my guy. They're doing some stuff over there, so
I'm holding. I knew they would. I'm like, I believe in the redemption arc here. Like I know it's coming.
it's coming.
Yeah, we love an underdog story, right?
Everybody loves the comeback story.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. I'm like, I'm already rugged anyways. It's worth 0. So I'm like, I either hold and maybe infinite money, or sell and get $40. Like
It's only
I'll
up
take
from
it.
here.
I'll take my chances.
Trey or Craft, one of you guys want to give us your background? How you got involved in the project?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's great talking to you guys again. I know we had a pretty nice conversation the other day. Yeah, man. So I got brought on shortly, me and Kraft actually, shortly after the inception of the project. Got to meet these guys, kind of see what they're building. I knew Wawa a little while back from the Creep server. He was the head mod over there. So we've been in talks for a little bit. As far as my background in the space, it kind of intertwines with how I got brought onto this project. I've been kind of networking, building, collecting contacts in this space for the better half of 6 months. I built up the Creeps Alpha server. It was pretty successful. We have like 1,500 active members. And through that, I was in talks with Wawa every now and then about random stuff, whether that be for advice, just a bunch of different stuff. And we built up a pretty good relationship there. And then, as it turns out, he reached out to me after a certain amount of time to get brought on, meet the guys at Vivid, and I was kind of blown away by just the quality of not only the art, but just the core competencies of the team. You said you're kind of familiar with Zap and Track and Michael as well, and yeah, no, it's been dope. That's how I got brought onto the project, and yeah, it's been great thus far, and we're looking to really hit the ground running. I guess we already accomplished that thus far, but really trying to take it to new heights.
Hell yeah.
Hell
You guys
yeah,
are
man.
killing it. Well, cool.
Dope.
Should we have? Yeah, Craft, go for it.
Yeah, so like Trey said, kind of got brought in there. Actually, been in the space for about 8 months. Got serious kind of in January. Got super serious, spending way too much time, like we all probably do. Had my fair share of rugs in the process for sure. But got involved with the Alpha server actually with Trey working there, and we were able to connect. My background, I've been in Web2 for about 12 years. So major tech companies that have, pre-IPO, post-IPO, and have run, revenue teams there for the better part of a decade now. So I think one of the biggest things that drew me to this project and working with the team was just the level of execution and professionalism. It's just been off the charts, and it really reminds me of, really that IRL business focus and really wanting to drive value for holders. And something I'm sure we'll talk about, and Wawa will probably hit on as well, but we're not just a numbers go up type project. We really want to build something, and we want to build a culture here, because I think people are getting tired of how the space is played out. I think it's fun for us all to talk about and share our war stories and our rugs, because I think we probably all have some we want to share, others that maybe have been in that. And
yeah. Oh, go ahead.
So, yeah, no, for sure. I was gonna say I don't even want to know what's in Wawa's hidden folder on OpenSea right now. Yeah, right. So
I don't think WHAAAWHAAA wants to tell us either.
Well, let's just say if Lovecraft was an NFT collector, it'd be me.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
man. So that's kind of how we all got linked up. And as you guys have obviously seen, the project's really blown up. And it's been because there was a lot of dedication, months in the making before even launching. So it's just been awesome to work with these guys. Obviously, Aki's art speaks for itself,
Mm-hmm.
and the rest of the team. You mentioned the lore, and we want to build this 360 IP universe that touches multiple branches and just isn't an NFT, but is so much more. I think we get caught in this: what is utility? What are these things? And it's like, what about the community? What about everything else that matters that builds a project, right? And how can we foster that from the ground up? So
no, it's a really fair point too. Like I could speak for Mathias and I when I say like we're both pretty big sci-fi fantasy junkies, and like I do the lore for Shogun War actually too. So the first thing that kind of brings me into a project, aside from the art, obviously, is usually the first thing that you see, right? Like even scrolling down a Twitter feed or on Discord, like you see the art. And that's the first thing that kind of grabs your attention. But the second I get into a Discord, it's like, all right, let me see the lore. Because world building, I think, just makes the project feel a little bit more tangible. And it makes you feel like you're stepping into something other than just like a number go up, number go down game. And that's one thing that like immediately drew me yesterday when Trey was giving this presentation, was just like the world that you guys are building here.
Yeah, no, definitely. No, I'd say that's definitely one of the highlights. Is I mean, that's exactly why I'm a fan of the creeps. And especially initially, it's this fun story where you have the Overlord, and the Overlord hints at eating humans, but he actually likes ice cream, and you have these shapeshifters and stuff, and there's actually like a personality that you can kind of supplement yourself into. Whereas with PFPs, I mean, sure, you can identify with like a bird or a dog or whatever, but I feel like it's kind of missing the reflection points of like what really makes a profile picture a profile picture. Why don't you make a selfie your profile picture instead if it's more representative of you or of this character that actually has maybe some traits you can relate to? And I think there's a lot to be said about that concept, honestly.
Yeah, and the more and more you give a PFP texture, like not, literal texture, but figurative texture, the more and more you give a PFP texture, I think the more attached people get to it. And it gives the project some sustenance too. It's not just like, I'm holding this until I this thing has gone up enough for me to sell it. It's like I'm holding this because like I believe in this thing. And also like you have this, sort of emotional attachment to the thing because you've involved yourself in the story, and you know that the story is growing. And so, it's just, it gives you something to look forward to, and it gives you something to kind of get attached to.
Yeah, and I'd actually maybe even say too, just to like add on a little bit further, I think it actually starts to lay out the idea of what a brand kind of ends up becoming. Because I think that's where projects kind of miss out on, is it's kind of like like when you go to create like a brand in the first place, you have to come up with like a mission statement, right? So what's your goal? Is it to get a new culture involved into fashion, or is it to bring aesthetics to the racing world, or whatever it is? There needs to be like a clear goal in mind, and I feel like that's one thing projects have missed out on, that I think is kind of integral to that texture.
No, I agree. And I think that's definitely a good pivot into, kind of our first question, which I'm sure anyone would have expected. But if you guys could speak a little bit on what the project is, not just what it is at a surface level, but what it's trying to accomplish, and how you guys plan on getting there, without having to leak too much alpha. You're free to leak as much alpha as you want, but yeah, just speak a little bit on that. Yeah, unless you want to. We'd never steer you guys
likes
away.
Alpha. Nobody likes Alpha. What are you talking about? Everyone hates
Nobody
that
likes
shit.
that.
Get it out
Yeah.
of here.
Yeah.
We'll edit that out. No worries.
We'll redact it just to keep with the theme of the Discord. It's redacted.
Yeah.
Love it.
Me, I'll let Fair Craft do this one because it's always fun to hear.
Trey, hit it.
You guys miss me already?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man. Well,
I want to say before you go, Trey did such a good job at presenting the project yesterday in a very short amount of time, because Mathias and I had to hop off actually for another podcast yesterday, and we didn't have too much time with him. I think it was like 15 or 20 minutes, and he like made that presentation so colorful in such a short amount of time and got us both hyped in like 15 minutes. So I'm excited to see what he does when he has a little bit more time.
Yeah, man. I love talking to you guys too. You guys are really dope. You learn a lot from hearing someone speak, right? That was a big part of what's happening on here too. So happy to answer. The question was, what is Vivid aside from, how did you word it exactly?
Just not surface level. Like, what are you guys trying to accomplish and how do you plan on getting there? I mean, definitely we want to, anyone that's listening that doesn't know what Vivid is already, we want to hear that, that little bit of what Vivid really is, but we also want to know what the vision is and what you're trying to accomplish.
Absolutely. So as far as some of the things we already touched on it, as far as the detail of the narrative, as far as touching piece, but what it really comes down to is building something that people resonate with, right? And resonate with long term, and focusing on the factors of it that aren't so obvious, right? So when you look at Vivid right now, the first thing that jumps off the page is clearly Aki's art. You can't really miss it. The attention to detail and the emotion he invokes is pretty obvious right away. But there's a lot behind that once you peel the layers back. So the way we kind of go about it is we say it's a new brand for a new culture. So both those words are pretty important here. Words being brand and culture, right? While I could speak for hours on cultural significance of not just an NFT, but any wave, any product, any brand, and what that could really do for what we're building here. So we want people to resonate with what we're building, and we do that in a couple ways beyond just the art. So you touched on the narrative a bit, and it all comes down to the people we have on the team and what they're able to bring to the table and how we're all aligned in different ways. So as far as a narrative, Nell can't be here right now, but he's kind of the guy handling a lot of the narrative story building aspects of our universe. And he plays a very big role in in that aspect. So on top of having a lot of experience in the production world, working in Hollywood, getting some awards and accolades for his time at Verizon Media, he's really, the guy getting the handshakes done with whether that's Aki's media group, or any of these people that are doing some writing for us and building out this immersive universe that people actually want to spend time with, right? So that's one part of it. And then keep in mind, there's some dots to be connected here, without leaking anything. If there's some dots that we're presenting the data. If you could connect some dots, I think it might be safe to do so. So why are we being so detailed with the story, right? Is it just so Trey could go have fun presenting to a bunch of collabs? Probably not, right? There's probably something else coming out of that. So what might that be, given the detail of the art, given our attention to story building? I'm not sure if you guys remember. I know from Snow Dog said Zap a bit too. So like, why is Zap here, right? Is he just here to look cool with all his all his connects in the fashion world, or is it something there as well? So we are focusing on value beyond just a PFP, beyond just an amazing community and some great art. I don't want to talk too much and leak and leak anything I'm not supposed to, but we do have the AMA later too. But yeah, no, I'm welcome to field any questions you have, specific questions you guys have as well. I hope that
Awesome, man.
kind of answers the question a bit.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
definitely. And I like how you kind of anchored it down with, the between the lines there was that you guys have a stacked team. And I think anyone that listens to the pod and listens to you guys talk about the team, I think anyone could get excited about any one of you. Just you guys are all here building together makes it that much more exciting.
Yeah.
yeah.
I kind of want to just add on real quick too, like when it comes to stack team, because I think like you see these projects and it's ex Apple, it's ex Google, it's ex Louis Vuitton and everything like that. I mean, to give an idea of how serious the stackness is, and Nell's kind of part in it. He's the whole entire reason we got in touch with Aki, and that's through his hard work inside of Hollywood. Having an animation studio and working with just different professionals throughout the years and earning those accolades. And I mean, the fact that was the guy that actually got us in touch with the artist, as opposed to maybe me, who's more familiar with the NFT space and whatnot, already kind of goes to show like we're not just saying like this is an ex Google person, like this is the ex Google person. He's not. We're not messing around.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I was just going to touch on that. I think people should keep in mind that a lot of the biggest companies in the world, what they really lean on is intellectual property. It's really IP. So like, why is Disney Disney? I mean, you don't have theme parks that are just blank. Like they're all filled with the world that Disney's built. So if people ask like, oh, what's utility? What is it like? It is this world that people can figuratively live in. Like that is what a lot of utilities. I mean, what would you Disney's not just parks, it's the IP. That's why people love it. And then it builds a community around that. So people kind of mix those up, I think, a lot of times with like,
Mhm.
oh, it shouldn't it just be like utilities like merch or something, or like it should get me in like a club or something. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I
So
mean, like,
I want to
Giving
make sure.
what do you feel like when you first step into like Disneyland or a theme park
Mm.
like that, or even just like when you're watching a show? It's like you're stepping into a story, right? And the idea that you guys are building out this world, this like universe of IP, and also just like the world building that you put into it, kind of connects things from what we're seeing in Web3, the PFPs, et cetera, to like some of the alpha that you may or may not have leaked in between the lines there. It is the world building that I think is probably one of the most attractive pieces that kind of connects the IP to the incentive and the investment.
And I think,
Oh yeah.
yeah, and I think that you hit the point, right? That's the attractive piece about it because you don't. I mean, I can come in and say, "Yeah, cool. You're going to stake our NFT and you're going to yield your token, and here you go." And it's like, well, what is that though, right? And it's very singular focused. Where when you're focused on this world building, the project gets to be what the individual holder wants it to be. It doesn't just have to be defined as what we've laid out. There's so many
Hmm.
different variations and ways we can explore, and I think the really cool and unique way that we're looking at it is how do we include our people and include that community in the process? Because the one thing I think we can all admit is we don't know what we don't know, right? And being able to
Exactly.
source that feedback, and some people, back to the Disney example, some people get excited about the roller coasters, some people get excited about the food, some, like, there's all these different elements at play that
Hmm.
create that experience, and if you can tie those together and package them into a way that people can explore how they want, when they want, and still get utility and get that value out of it, I think is really, really impactful.
Right. And from a project standpoint too, it gives people, many avenues to getting into the project, or not even just like using the PFP as like the nexus for all of these avenues, but just like if you get involved in the PFP, right? And like, in parentheses, like if you were to like drop a fashion line or something, like people in the PFP are going to want to get into that fashion line, or even vice versa. And it works for anything, in any sort of area that you guys are creating, because like you get involved in one thing and immediately like your eyes turn to the next, and it kind of is like all these avenues that lead people to the same place, and so it creates this like giant nexus of activity. And there's just so much incentive to get into a project that has its hands in a million different spaces.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
no,
could not have said that better myself, dude. Yeah, no, the articulation is dope there, and you're touching on a lot of key points that, and a lot of key sentiments that we share here as well. And it's dope that you guys could see how we're approaching it from a multifaceted angles, and how that could we actually have the capabilities to string that together. Sorry to cut you off there, Wah.
definitely. No, you're totally good. I mean, yeah, I mean, it is to add on to like those pieces. Like for example, I come from like a community building, community management type perspective more than I really come from a moderator perspective. That said, I'm the best moderator ever. Creeps has never been caught.
He's not wrong.
Um, but like when it comes to like community management stuff, I mean, when we throw around the term utility, I think like I almost want to say it's the most dangerous word in the space because it gives people the wrong reasons to even check out a project and whatnot. And I think like like what Craft was kind of touching on, and you were kind of reiterating is it is that cultural. It is that stepping into the story, stepping into the world and actually embracing it. It's kind of like the same concept. I mean, if the focus of just NFTs by itself is utility, what are we doing making all this art for? Let's just go make pixels and figure out how we expand the NFT utility. But clearly, the art and the world are the centerpieces, and I would say that's true for the most successful big projects are the ones that understand that.
Definitely,
Yeah,
definitely.
exactly. That's what I was gonna say. Like, I was gonna touch on like Azuki's. Like they're really, if you're building the IP, you're building like brand, like a shirt. A shirt you're wearing, if it's Gucci versus just like a Target shirt, like there's a huge difference there. People try to nail down like the utility in a kind of a weird way. I think it's that same 0 to 1 kind of moment when you get NFTs, you get DeFi. Like it just doesn't make sense before, and then it like clicks and you're like, oh shit, yeah, that totally makes sense. Like
Hmm.
that's what community is about. That's what all of these big companies are about.
Hmm.
So it's kind of nice.
Definitely. And you know, I normally wouldn't ask someone to set the stage with the lore on the pod because I feel like most people that listen to this are probably just looking for the meat of the project. But I feel like the lore is a big part of the meat in this case. And so, can one of you guys just, you don't have to give us every single piece of information on this universe that you're building out, but can one of you guys just walk us and, these Anon listeners to walk us through the world that they're stepping into?
Yeah,
Coach, you
absolutely.
got it. You got it.
No,
All right.
yeah, you got it, bro. Whatever you want to do.
It's like the alley oop. Here you
Sheesh. I'll hit you with the
Um,
dime.
nice.
go.
Do you got it though? I mean, I could,
Just
I was
passing it
born for
around.
this.
I'll
I was
take it,
born for
guys.
this.
No, I'm
Hot
just
potato.
kidding.
No. We got you guys, dude. So our story exists inside the cyberpunk sci-fi post-apocalyptic world, right? As you guys kind of know. So
Mhm.
think high tech meets low life. What we mean by that is societal problems got a lot fucking worse while technology simultaneously got a lot better. Um, you could draw some parallels there to present day. Um, and kind of see what our trajectory might be. We definitely wanted to, you know, draw some parallels there as well. So in terms of story, like the world kind of stops spinning, shit hits the fan. The best and brightest and richest, most importantly, have already left. Kraft likes to say on Jeff Bezos's dick-shaped rocket, they're gone.
They're
This
out,
is
dude. They're out. They're
Craft
out.
with the
yeah.
jokes. I love that.
They rode that dick to the moon. They're just like,
Yeah.
they're out of here.
Yeah, they're still riding it, bro. Who knows where the fuck they are by now?
Just
But
fucking the stars. I like it.
all day, all day. So then this is not about them, fuck them, right? This is about everyone that's left behind, who's still on Earth.
Mhm.
What do they do? How do they band together? What are their stories? What are the obstacles they run into? How do they overcome them? And how do we make that, as aesthetically and emotionally effective as possible? Is kind of the focus here. So we have like some really cool locations that we're running into. I ran you guys through in the deck a bit. We have like the Hive, the Earth's core, a couple other aesthetically dope places as well that we're building out that these stories and storylines kind of take place. We have some main characters. We have Miko. You guys listening will probably recognize her as she'll be coming up a few times, and whether that be in giveaways or wherever, you'll
Mhm.
see our main female character presented. She's kind of like a grab runner. She's doing a delivery. Might go wrong. She might absorb a piece of nanotech that gives her some powers. Again, I don't want to leak anything too much as far as the story here either. But we have these characters that are going to be interweaved, and yeah, the storyline's going to be super super in depth.
Yeah.
Picture Super Mario Galaxy meets Inception.
That's
Wow.
that's no simple
Yeah.
picture by any means. No, but
That's the point.
no, I do really like yesterday when you were presenting to us, Trey, you mentioned like, one of the big themes here is and even on the pod you've mentioned this, that one of the big themes is the consumption of the soul by machine, human soul by machine. And I think it's very not trying to use a play on words here, but it is very vivid that like that picture that you guys are painting just through is it Miko?
yes.
Miko, yeah, just through Miko, because like you have this, young girl. I think I mentioned yesterday during the presentation is like children or like childhood is like the picture of innocence, right? Like it's the purest form of humanity, and so it's you're using these two very clear concepts, right? Machine, which is like also very clear, and just the picture of Miko with like the different parts of like nanotech attached to her, and then you have Miko herself, who's like this young girl, right? It's like pure innocence, pure humanity versus like pure machine, and so like even if you weren't to tell me that that is the theme of the project, just by looking at one of Aki's pictures, it kind of makes itself apparent. And that's what I've really liked, even just in the art. Like it just grabs you, it captures you, and it tells you a story without there having to be any words.
Yeah, I appreciate that, dude. That you guys got that just even from the short conversation we had. I think it speaks a little to like how well you guys are at like listening and how much you actually fuck with story building and lore building here,
Yeah,
because
definitely.
that is definitely what we're going for, and that juxtaposition of that childlike innocence with
Hmm.
this cold hard machinery that is taking over, you know, their world literally, and you know the parallels between that and how much time me or you might spend on Discord in a given day being consumed by our laptops.
Exactly. I think anyone in Web3 could speak to the consumption of the soul.
Yeah, and kind of a cool perspective on it. You know, why we lean into the story building. It's like you ever see like people online and they have like Itachi Uchiha from Naruto as their profile picture, or Sasuke, or
Hmm.
any of the characters from Bleach and whatnot. And it's
Hmm.
I mean, yes, they're really well designed and they look cool, right? But I mean, one of the biggest reasons why people pick Itachi versus Sasuke is because Itachi has this big story behind him about the hidden
Killing
league.
his family for his brother.
Exactly, and
Yeah.
there's so much more to it than just that, and
Yeah.
that's what makes him such a great character. It is the writing, and that also is why a lot of people gravitate towards him. Similarly, with like someone like Kakashi, so I think story and lore supplement a lot bigger of a picture than people realize. Honestly,
No, there's and that's a good point too, because there's a lot of like really cool aesthetically looking characters in Naruto that like people don't necessarily gravitate towards in terms of like making that their profile pic or like, their banner on Twitter or something. But it's like just the fact that like Itachi, even like Shikamaru, like his like the whole arc when Asuna dies. I mean, I'm sure you're making all these Naruto allusions, so I'm sure you guys are familiar, but like
I'm like a Naruto head.
yeah, when Asuna dies and Shikamaru plays Shoji with his dad, like that whole scene like got me so attached to him. And I think like even though Shikamaru isn't the dopest looking character, like there is so much story built into his arc and like his friendship with Naruto and whatnot that like people get attached to him regardless of how he looks. And so like
Oh yeah.
story definitely plays its part in injecting itself into art.
And it is exactly that connection.
Yeah.
Like you're saying with Shikamaru, like he is a more low key character, but then it's super cool then too. Like when you start to like read something like Boruto, which is actually really good. I just want to throw that out there real quick. I am shamelessly
Stop pumping your bags, bro.
Shameless
Yeah.
Boruto plug. Love that.
Yeah.
Boruto is good. I want to throw it out there. If you guys haven't checked it out, it's actually good. But
Despite what
it's
people
cool.
say, it sounded like it's like, hey guys, it's actually good.
It's actually good. I was a little bit worried. I'm not gonna lie. But
Well, I
it's
think
cool.
the problem, like everyone wanted them to create like the same Naruto story again because everyone fell in love with it and that's like what they were familiar with. And I feel like Boruto did not kick off at the same tempo. It was like they like already had their guns out, like everything was guns ablazing. And so I feel like a lot of people got turned off to it. But like I started watching it and like I actually kind of like it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just cool to see like the transformation of different characters too. I mean, it obviously doesn't have to be just that. I mean, we can take even more ridiculous examples like Vampire Diaries or something like that. I mean, I know girls who they see the one actor Gray. I don't remember his full name, but they see him and
You don't have to lie here, man. We know you know his full name.
no, I don't. I know Vampire Diaries though. Oh god,
I'm just kidding.
Gossip Girl. Don't get me started.
No, those are
Yeah.
all fair points.
I can't wait for the like the Bridgerton analogies. You guys like it's just like in Bridgerton when
Yeah.
the one character, I'm assuming I've never seen the show, it cheats on the other one or something. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
something like that.
I think
Can't
they call
remember his
that
name.
the hero's journey, right?
Yeah.
It's the narrative structure that everybody
Yeah,
loves.
yeah.
It's the hero's
Yeah.
Yeah, we just start to slowly disassociate ourselves with the show, but like we know the storyline to a T, and we're just like, yeah, like I can't fucking remember his name, but like he, this thing happens to him, and then like you just know every single detail, but you just pretend like you don't through the names. Yeah, I love that.
You want to admit like you watched it, but you don't want to be like nah.
It's always like, yeah, my girlfriend was telling me about that last episode. It sounded crazy. It's like, no, I just sat down and watched it and ate popcorn.
I was watching Gossip Girl. Earlier.
Same.
Oh man.
So you guys already talked a little bit about how you got into the space, so won't harp on that too much, but we will go to Aki, a man who is obviously not on the pod with us right now. So if you guys could just break down a little, because he is so central to the visual piece of this project, and so if you guys could break down a little bit, like who is Aki, like what has he done, and just like how you guys got connected with him.
Yeah. So I wish Nell was here to kind of explain a bit better about the story, but I've been here for most of it. So the way we ended up getting in contact with him was through a media group that Nell previously had been working with, and that media group is called Muse, and basically he used to work with a guy named Yasu, and you actually see Yasu in the Discord. He's super awesome. We basically contacted them, and we were looking for artists at the time. They sent us a deck back, basically some artists we can go check out, and some of them were cool, but they weren't exactly what we were looking for. And actually, even at first year, I was actually specifically looking at two other artists. One was called Boichi, who did Dr. Stone and Sunken Rock, and another one called Shinichi Sakamoto, and he's done a mountain climbing one called Kokonohito and Innocent. So I'd been shopping around for artists, but then the second that I saw Aki, I was like, that's it. I don't know what it is about it, but that's it.
Yeah, there is always that moment, I feel like, where when you see something, you just know that that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, and I mean, me and Track previously, we were looking at Scab and Pixiv, and it's kind of funny because we were kind of talking about it, how you don't really ever get to see like the bad side of Japanese art. You usually get to see like the polished animes and refined mangas, but when you go into Pixiv, you actually get to see like a lot more of the art that's not so good. Yeah, so it's funny. So then we were trying to search that, but then we instantly I saw Aki and I was like, that's it. And he even gave us a list of like 40 artists to check out. So then we started going back and forth, having some conversations and whatnot. And then eventually we ended up meeting, and Aki was just, we just clicked. It was just like instant synergy. He really liked the ideas Zap was throwing out. I was throwing out about NFTs and whatnot. We were all just kind of juggling back and forth, talking about this brand, this idea, the high tech with the low life, with, the 360, what we're all trying to accomplish, read between the lines a little bit there. And yeah, I mean, he just aligned super heavily, which was awesome. And, that relationship getting built out has just been amazing because, I mean, every single time we get to meet with the Japanese team, we're just blown away with Aki's delivery, which one thing is insane. Everybody's doing stuff and exceeding expectations, but I mean, it's so cool when you see like Aki and he's produced so much work already, and then he'll do like a promotional image that we didn't even know about, and then he'll have like another couple things drawn up, and it's just like, dude, do you ever sleep?
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel like anyone that is familiar with Aki beforehand, or anyone that familiarizes themselves with him after like getting into this project, is immediately going to be like, there's so much clout there that the fact that someone like Aki was willing to hop on this project, enjoyed being around you guys, like enjoyed all of the ideas that you had and aligned himself with it. I feel like that already is like enough ethos for anyone that's kind of contemplating the project to take that first step in. Is, you guys obviously have a stacked team and there's a lot of people with a lot of ethos on the team already, but just the fact that like Aki, an artist, what is art? Obviously, like it's visual. It's like how you make it feel, how it makes you feel, all this stuff. And like Twitter being a visual social media space, it's like, that's kind of the first person that they're going to see. And so like, it's great that you have that ethos kind of like on your screen immediately before having to like dig into a project. And like, like with devs, like you don't really see their work until the product is made. You don't really like get to feel that work until you've kind of immersed yourself in it. But like with an artist, if you have a great artist, someone with a lot of ethos already, then like you kind of incentivize like anyone that's scrolling through their Twitter feed to take that first step onto your page and like into your Discord, which is like amazing. And obviously like he's going to play a super significant role on the project down the line. So just wanted to say my piece.
Yeah, no, totally. And it's exactly like those pieces. It is the visual element. And I mean, that's also like, kind of the point we come from, is I will say, I'll be the first to say Aki definitely has options. He did not have to work with us at all. He's clearly an insanely talented artist. And I mean, he would have no problem, probably trying to get his own thing together with another studio or working with the Muse themselves. So the fact that, that they extended the line out to us and we just synergized and connected so well is super awesome. And yeah, I would say definitely speaks volumes about the tier of quality we're bringing, because we don't want to do anything short of meeting Aki's expectations, and it's cool because he feels the exact same way. And it's funny because he says like, yeah, I just got to make sure I do good enough work sometimes. So he'll be talking about it, and it's just like, Aki, I don't know if you've ever done bad work. Can you show me what that looks like?
Yeah, he's his own worst critic probably. I feel like that's how most artists are.
Oh yeah, no, coming from the music game, it's a
Yeah.
heavy relate. I've scrapped many a composition and song, to say the least. Probably at least a good 1,500.
So you know the feeling. At least you can relate on that regard too with him.
Oh yeah, yeah. You're your own worst critic, especially in that space. Like there's always a way to make the next best bell, the next best melody, next best chord, and yeah, I mean that creative process is intense, but it's cool though, because also working with him as an artist, I mean, I would say he's on levels of artists who are similar in detail and speed, like the guy who does One Punch Man, Murata, or Berserk with Miura.
Saitama is the GOAT.
Oh yeah, amazing, and just
Shout out Saitama.
Yeah, shout out Saitama. Dude,
Shout out Saitama.
One Punch Man is one of those shows that I feel like I could watch the same episode like 6 times and never get bored watching it.
Season 1.
I fucking love it, bro.
Yeah.
I need a season 3 with the same production cast from season 1. I don't know if you keep up with the manga or the webcomic at all, but
I do. I have Shonen Jump, so I've kept up with the One Punch Man manga, and I hope they can produce season 3 at the same quality as season 1.
They need to, man. I need to see it. Yeah, no, One Punch Man is great, and it's just so cool that we get to work with an artist like that is on that caliber of delivery, detail, synergizing, just the whole mixture. I feel like that's a difficult thing to find among artists. So it's just been nothing short of a complete honor to work with them, and a great relationship that's kind of been blossoming from it.
Hell yeah. Well, thanks for giving us the background on Aki. So anyone listening, that's Aki. Like, definitely check out his Twitter page on top of Vivid's, because if you are having any contemplative doubt on Vivid, which you shouldn't, based off of this conversation, just check out Aki's page. And I think that'll be enough to bring you guys into the Discord and get involved in the project. Sorry, Mathias, I've definitely been monopolizing the conversation. I know like we're both super stoked on this. So if you
no worries. I'm like totally enjoying, like, this is, I mean, I would be down for a whole, manga anime podcast for this thing. What I mean? Like,
just shoot the shit about anime and manga. Could do it.
Yeah,
same.
Oh yeah,
the vibes become immaculate. You know what I mean? Like, but I think a lot of the ones that are really coming back that are going to be cool vibe wise too for people are like Ghost in the Shell, some like retro kind of stuff. We see some projects
I feel like
amazing.
I feel like the Vivid, like some of the art that you put out is like really reminiscent of Ghost in the Shell too, like that cyberpunk vibe.
Yeah, definitely, and you can see that in his work. He actually has a really cool documentary he put out through this thing called Archipel, where he kind of talks about some of his inspirations and whatnot, and what made him want to start drawing, his art style and everything. And he kind of makes a big shout out to Dragon Ball with Akira Toriyama. And how he kind of had these motifs when he draws, and then Aki started to adopt that, and it's super cool. Definitely check it out, Archipel, Aki Bright. It's a short little 10-minute documentary. I promise you won't waste any time on that.
Hell yeah, we'll do. Can you guys speak a little bit? My bad, Mathias. Were you about to ask a question?
No. I wanted to jump in, do something, but I was like, if you have a question, that's all good.
No, it was just a timeline question, so I feel like that can come last.
Oh yeah, that's probably, we should do all of those, and then because I was gonna get us off in the deep end of like the space and how they see Web3 kind of changing, and so we should probably let's do more on the project, and then we'll get the wild kind of questions.
So
we'll save those for the end.
I think I got 2 project questions left. So the first one is, the general sense I get, or like the between the lines I kind of sense that, everything we are allowed to see, whether it's through Discord, Twitter, whatever spaces, is like very meticulously curated and delivered in a way that kind of gives the community a taste of what's to come, but not necessarily like the whole meal. it has this sort of like ominous vibe, like something wildly impressive is around the corner or like wildly scary. Is that intentional? And if it is, like what's the purpose behind that?
Yeah. So this is another thing I kind of speak on. So kind of because I do like all the marketing and stuff, and kind of like the way I've kind of thought about it and planned it out. I think with a lot of projects, you don't have the luxury of being able to kind of hide stuff and kind of plant things, put them in interesting corners, and have this meticulous thought. 'Cause it's usually, let's get the artist, we have the developer, let's get the roadmap out. We don't know what we're doing. This is probably the first time we're making a project. Blah blah blah. So most projects don't get that luxury. Meanwhile, on the other hand, with us, I've spent so much time, kind of devising this idea, and testing different marketing things out with other projects and whatnot. And kind of what I kind of just seen, not even just like in the Web3 space, but online, everybody likes a mystery of some sort. They like being on the edge of their seat, and they kind of like having them tickled a little bit here and there, and just get a movement going. And that's kind of the motivation behind it. It's people like thinking, what's the next possible thing? What could they possibly do, and what does the event even look like? Because it's so much fun to give people something to do. Just from like regular marketing perspective, the best thing that I think anybody who's in this position can do is give people something to do, and if that's think about the mystique, or actually show up to an event, or participate in like community conspiracy and anything like that. That's what I think energizes and kind of like adds energy to really any project, Twitter, Discord, or even TikTok, music wise. It's the same way like Marvel kind of leaks these characters, and then that's even like quotations leaks. I'm pretty sure Marvel kind of does the same thing where they plan it out a little bit. So kind of following that model a little bit.
Yeah, you kind of get their mouth watering before you give them a taste. I like it. No, it's important. It's like you leave everything you guys put out as like a cliffhanger, which like I've always enjoyed. One thing I love about reading is like when you put the book down, your mind kind of runs wild about like what's going to happen next. And it makes it that much more exciting like the next time you pick up the book, because it's like, okay, are like all my questions going to get answered, et cetera, et cetera. And like it's kind of the same thing with like the content you guys put out. It's like you kind of let everyone's minds run rampant until like you answer their questions, or maybe you never answer their questions, and like that's its own game too, because people are left to kind of build out the universe in whatever way they want.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, no, I mean, I really like that, because a lot of times you'll get to see kind of how the community is thinking about a project. How we've done that with Shogun War. We like to let people kind of develop it, write their lore for their own character, different stuff like that. But when you don't like spoon feed everybody, it really actually gets them more into the world. It's kind of wild that way.
Yeah, and one thing like Mathias and Rajan, the guy from one of the co-founders for Shogun War, one thing they like love to say is under promise, over deliver, which I think even if that's not intentional in what you guys are doing, is kind of what is just happening organically. And then last question, sorry, project related. So I know you guys have your AMA at 7 PST. So this pod probably won't even drop until after that. So feel free, if this is one of the subjects you're going to touch on, to answer the question. If you guys haven't gotten there yet and you don't want to answer it, don't answer it. But do you guys have a timeline for when things are going to start to drop? Like when we're gonna see some minting of the long-awaited NFTs?
Don't want to give the exact timeline quite yet, but I will say this: we're definitely not 3 or 4 months out or anything like that, super far away.
I like that. So 1 to 2 weeks, it's contractual. WHAAAWHAAA just signed the contract.
Definitely within the next 6 months, for sure. There you go.
Right after the AMA, actually.
Surprised.
Yeah, the way I would do it is I'd say sooner rather than later, for sure.
Awesome. Okay.
I think something cool to add into there is we're definitely going to be wetting people's whistles or feeding their appetite along the way. So It won't just be here's the date, go. We're definitely going to have some build up and some really cool stuff that should tie a lot of what we've talked about together in this conversation as well. So I think it'll be really cool to watch play out over the next few weeks.
Awesome. Yeah. And that's good to hear. And I wouldn't expect anything less from like the way you guys have been putting everything out. I think it's like all been, when you read something, like I'll use the analogy of like Lord of the Rings, right? Things, that Tolkien put so much work into building that world that didn't end up on the pages. And like, it's kind of the same thing with some of these projects. Like, you can get a sense that there's so much work going on the back end, and like things are built out that, you know, we haven't seen yet, or maybe we'll never get to see. And I feel like that just, it has just made itself like blatantly apparent, just, you know, going through the Discord, going through the Twitter for you guys' project.
Yeah, you throw away 95% of the stuff, and about 5% actually makes it out to the public, and that's the thing about iteration and making sure that it's to that standard and to that quality, right?
Yeah, and the thing is too, like, if you never wrote that other 95%, even if it never makes it onto the page, like, it informs what makes it onto the page, right? So like that 95%, throwing it away, as much as it sucks, or like just never putting it on the page, whether it's intentional or unintentional, like, it's kind of necessary.
Absolutely. You got to get through that process, and the cool thing is, once you do that, you know, you go back to it, and you can weave things back and forth, and it just creates. That's the beauty of creating the universe, is it has so many different directions and angles that you can take. That how does it all tie together, and where do you pull those pieces from, both kind of historically and moving forward? So adds a lot of dynamic elements to the storyline.
Definitely. It's like the tip of the iceberg. Like, that's the sense I get when I'm in the Discord, when I'm reading on the project, and even just from talking to you guys. So I love that. And I'll hand it off to Mathias for some personal questions that'll get you guys sweating. Just kidding.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's really interesting. What I was talking about before was like, kind of everybody has this light bulb moment where they're like, oh, like, shit, this is like legit. Like, this is a real thing. This is a movement. This is, you know, this isn't a scam. It's not a Ponzi, like, you know, people like to say. What was it for you? What, each of you guys, whoever wants to go first, what was that moment for you, if you remember that? Yeah, how was that?
Yeah, I'll go. I think for me, it's the friction point in society, right? There's this whole thing where,
Hmm.
you know, you remember when the internet came out, or maybe you guys do. I was around still, but you know, not to date myself.
Doxing himself a little bit, yeah.
Right,
We got a boomer.
yeah.
Okay, good. You know.
Yeah. This guy's like 80. What is he doing on this podcast? But if you don't, you know, if you remember or think about it back then, a lot of the controversy was like, oh, it's like dating online and using dating apps online. Now it's normal. 10 years ago,
Mhm.
if you met your girlfriend or wife on the internet, you were a weirdo, right? Like,
Yeah.
and it's those things when you see that tension in culture, and you see that like everyone's going against the grain. And, you know, we happen to be the earliest of early adopters, being on even on this call now, right? We're still so early in it. But to see the ripple that it has caused, to see that news, like literally my 82-year-old grandma 2 weeks ago was like, how do I buy Bitcoin? And I'm like, okay. Okay. So
Well, grandma, just
yeah, I'm like, chill out. But also, when you die, I'll take it from you. It's all good. Let's set it up. We'll just put it in my wallet. Yeah, we'll just put it in my wallet. It's fine.
I love that. Just manage your grandma's Bitcoin, of course.
Yeah, exactly, right? So I think for me, that was really like that inflection point. And, you know, I was really at the start of Web2, the social local mobile movement, and got my career at a pretty well-established tech company. Started, you know, about 10 years ago there, where the focus of what our product was is we started building with community first. And we started to see that. And as soon as I was able to make that jump, and just seeing Discord and seeing the passion that people had for these projects that they didn't know shit about, like, think about 6 months ago, nobody was doxxed
Mhm.
ever. No one was asking questions. We'll build a roadmap after we mint, you know, to see like a lot of the blind faith that people were putting into it, and to see that advancement and that involvement from crypto to this next evolution, I think was a big turning point, right? I think whenever you have that resistance and that friction from like mass adoption, you know, for the most part, especially in tech, if you can be there early and understand it, it puts you light years ahead of the game, right? If you've been in
100%.
NFTs for a year, it's like, oh, that's like having a 20-year career in business, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
like, so I think for me, that was really the tipping point with Web3, and just seeing how it was able to connect so many different people. You know, everyone wants to jump on a VC. Everyone wants to talk. You know, one minute you're talking to someone from South Africa, then someone from, you know, Singapore, the States, Panama, because they're trying to avoid taxes, you know, wherever people may be.
We get
But
taxed on this shit?
No, I don't know what you're talking about. Hey, you got to tell us if you're a cop, right? You got to tell us if you're a cop.
Yeah, wait,
That's
the
the law.
mark here.
What
Yeah,
wallet?
that's how that
I don't know
works.
what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I pay all my taxes.
Yeah.
Disclaimer,
For
yeah.
legal purposes.
Yeah.
If the IRS is listening, yes.
Yeah, the IRS is just like, we got them, boys.
We got him. What's that? Hold on. Someone's knocking at my door. Hold on.
Yeah.
Don't answer it. Don't
Yeah.
answer it.
I love that.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
We got him.
About to get swatted.
Oh man.
But yeah,
Oh,
I
man.
think for me that was kind of the point, especially for Web3, that really made it that impact and that piece, that powerful transition of holy shit, this is disruptive and it's empowering, us as opposed to the traditional means that we've seen. And there's a lot of power when you can build that community and you can build around something that people are
Mhm.
passionate about, right? Like it's the
Yeah.
difference. It's the difference between doing, if you're doing work, it's called stress. If you're doing something you like, it's called passion, right?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same thing here, where you have people like, I'd rather work 24 hours a day than, go be a lawyer and make good money. It's like, I would rather go work for myself and do that and know that it's a different grind, but it's something that you love to do.
100%. Yeah. And I
Yeah,
mean, that's even a
totally.
point that we touched on the last podcast, is just like, you could spend 100 hours doing investment banking, or you could spend 100 hours doing something you love. And like 100 hours doing something you love does not feel like you're working.
Yeah. Or in
Exactly.
Steve's case, you can do 100 hours of investment banking and then 50 hours of crypto as well for,
Yeah,
for 150
yeah,
hour
when
work
you're
week.
when you're me and you actually work in an investment bank and you do Web3
Just
as
double
well,
up.
it's
Unlimited
it's
energy and pre-workout,
yeah, it's just passion on top. Yeah, exactly. The pre-workout, which I've been banging this entire time. I'm like literally taking
Yeah.
a sip of it right now as we talk.
Well,
Yeah,
but it
we're
is
definitely
really,
gonna have to sync on power ups. I'm a exec at a startup, a Web2 startup right now, where I'm just like, okay, cool. So do I just go all in over here and just say peace out, or what does
Yeah.
that look like, right?
No, I mean, Mathias has been strategizing how to pull me over this entire time. So
yeah,
hopefully
and
he comes up with a plan soon.
I've been telling people burn the ships, the burn the ship method, believe in yourself. I think there's like an old Chinese saying, and if it's not Chinese, I'll just make it up now. But basically, like, it's like the eagle can sit on a high branch because not because it treats or it trusts the tree, it's because it trusts its wings. So like people here, if you're early, you got good eyesight, you're gonna do well. You hustle, especially if you put in 100 hours, you can't fail doing 100 hours of what you love.
That was a sick quote. Yeah, I think
I
if you
love
put
that.
I think if you say like it's an old Chinese saying before you say anything, you sound like 10 times wiser. So I love that.
Yeah, exactly. Mo money, mo problems. It's an old
Yeah.
Chinese saying, and it comes from it.
Thank you, Mathias Senpai.
Yeah, exactly.
Some Chinese and Japanese cultural here. I know what I'm talking about.
Exactly. Well, that was the other thing I was going to say, just that reminded me of, like, if you got here last cycle too, like, 17, 18, whatever, like it wasn't, or even earlier than that, like it wasn't sure that crypto was going to make it, like
Yep.
I feel like this time, like we know, okay, good. We've hit kind of critical mass, not as in like mass adoption, but like, okay, this shit won't go to zero, so
Yeah,
that's the good time.
we've crossed the threshold and are at that tipping
Exactly.
point now. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can see that with Web2, like if you're coming from a Web2 space, you're like, oh, okay, now everyone has a cell phone, so Facebook makes sense. That's on, like it's just, yeah, so much stuff gets unlocked with that. Cool. So we do Wawa or Trey,
Yeah.
whoever wants to jump up there.
I was gonna say, real quick, give me the question one more time. Serve it to me real quick.
Oh yeah. No, it's just
No, I mean, even
it's
I forgot the
basically-
question, so I can't fault you there.
I was
Yeah.
waxing too poetic there, guys. My bad.
we got drawn in. But basically, what was the moment that basically you were convinced that crypto wasn't a scam, Ponzi, or it was legit? Like this was really going to take off. Crypto or NFTs was going to really take off.
Yeah. So for me with crypto, because I'd heard about Bitcoin like way back when, like 2011. Didn't really know anything about it other than the name kind of circulated a little bit. Had no idea what a blockchain was, nothing like that. I just knew that you could get some for a couple cents or however much it was at that time. And then it wasn't really until like 2014 when the first kind of big Bitcoin pump happened, and hit $700, $800, and I was starting to look at it like, okay, what's going on with this? And then I think like what really convinced me was 2016. Bitcoin and Ethereum are just going insane sicko mode, or actually 2017. You know, the prices are going up. There's these new things called smart contracts. Oracles are an idea, and there's all these ways to start kind of like seeing how a supply chain enters, and DeFi, just all these concepts just started flying around like crazy. And I would say that the kind of the point for me, honestly, like the super hardcore point was probably NFTs,
Hmm.
because, you know, coming from music and whatnot, you know, it's so hard to create systems that actually, you know, give the right economic incentive to like stay in music, creating music.
Hmm.
You know, royalties, that's a whole just awful conversation to have. And then you know, credits, work, just everything to do with it. And you know, it wasn't until I kind of started to see like this picture of what NFTs could start to be, um, and what they could actually provide as far as like, you know, maybe not even just music and royalties and whatnot, but you know, obviously the other obvious ones we've seen is like the ledger being used for mortgages, or you know, just tracking transactions and not having a money printer, Federal Reserve. So a lot of good economic incentive there, as well, because I dabble in economics here and there,
Hmm.
Austrian economics specifically, not a Keynesian, I will say, but yeah, we're just kind of checking that stuff out, and you know, like thinking about how economies work, you know, economies of scale, all these different concepts. I spent a little bit of time reading about, and then, you know, obviously with NFTs, after getting my first ones and kind of making my PFP and kind of seeing, you know, engagement or people like react to it, and kind of like start to paint their own ideas about it, I knew that there had to be something there. And I think that is the thing, is it's like once you get your first NFT, or you actually buy your first piece of Ethereum or whatever it is, and you actually, you know, use a function on it, or you actually, you know, participate in some ecosystem or community, you start to see like people really believe in this. And it's not just, you know, internet funny money. There's actual like a concept under there. And I think it takes a little bit of time to grasp, which is probably the only big crypto adoption issue. But I think once people start to understand it the way that like I've been able to, or anybody else that's probably here, it starts kind of a clearer picture. And I
Hmm.
think that's why NFTs also are so strong. And it's kind of for the things we talked about earlier with brand and culture, and identity, is that it's actually giving a face to crypto that isn't Doge or Bitcoin or Ethereum. It's actually, well, maybe it looks like this. There's these apes, or you have these frogs, or Vivid. You know, whatever you want to start to kind of like put a picture on this big movement that's starting to come up.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting point, because like I feel like once you're in the space, like the shit just makes sense to you, like why it matters, you know what I mean? But like if you're outside of the space, people just question it so much, and it's like it's getting people. We've done a lot of, you know, I won't say a lot because this is our 9th episode, but like we've done a lot of the episodes that we've done so far have really been focused on educating, you know, specifically with DeFi, like educating people before they're in the space, like while they're in the space, like, you know, as they continue like their time in DeFi. And I think like for a lot of people, like it's just easy for us because we're like, yeah, NFTs make sense, DeFi makes sense, like, you know, crypto makes sense, like it does matter, it does have utility in the future, etc. But like when you're outside of the space, it can be such a daunting task to educate yourself on the space. And like that just gets compounded when you're not like building a project. Cause I will say, like, aside from all the time I've spent in the space, the time that I've spent helping, you know, build Shogun War, and the time that I've spent like on this podcast, I've learned probably like twice or 3 times as the amount that I did like all the time before that, that preceded it.
Yeah, and I think like kind of the interesting thing to kind of like maybe tap in there too, is the idea of information scarcity, and maybe not just information scarcity by itself becoming like one of the kind of pillars of what blockchain can help out with, but you know, also like intellectual property, and, you know, products of the mind and whatnot, actually kind of being able to be declared as some sort of ownership. And I mean, again, like kind of from the artist perspective or music perspective, there's a lot of power in that. And I think people will start to see it once, you know, obviously more Web2 people kind of come in. I think Ryan Carson, you know, actually the proof stuff was actually a very good, you know, breath of fresh air in the space. Because I think one of the things that's kind of held it back just a little bit are these Web3 only teams you know, who are stuck in these Web3 kind of ways
Mhm.
that were previously from DeFi and whatnot. And it's actually these Web2 kind of counterparts entering the space and finally like taking a risk that you know they wouldn't have took beforehand. And I think that's like, kind of the cool connection there too, with even a Muse and Aki Bright and whatnot.
All fair points.
Yeah, I think for me the time NFTs really made sense was when the Pope dropped an NFT. You know, I think it actually just dropped today. The Vatican
NFTs
creates
actually
an
didn't
NFT
NFTs didn't
gallery.
click for me until I saw dick butts, and then I was like, ah, yes, this is the pinnacle of NFTs.
This is
Oh
art.
God.
But I
This
mean,
is
it is
it.
interesting that people bring these arguments to NFTs that like they wouldn't apply to anywhere else. So like, why is Nike launching more shoes? Like they already have ones that protect your feet. Or like, oh God, there's so many shoes. Like, why do we need more shoes? Like, well, they're all different. They're all culturally, you know, like they're all culturally relevant. But it's kind of how I think of it as crypto, kind of the financial side, and then NFTs, the cultural side. Even though there's a
Mhm.
lot of crossover.
And then I know we're edging on our time here, but Trey, you want to go ahead and answer that too?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So a lot of fucking dope things to go off there. I think all fear is based off the fear of the unknown, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a
Hmm.
pretty fundamental point there, and I think that really plays a role in this conversation. You were talking about people that are in this space and not in this space. Most human beings, by a landslide, are not in this space, right? I'm not
Right.
sure what
Hmm.
the last numbers were. I think there's like maybe close to a million now. I'm not even sure. Um, OpenSea wallets, even,
Hmm.
or MetaMask wallets, and most people have multiple. So it's like most people are from the outside looking in, and people fear what they don't know. But when I realized this was going to be an actual big thing, it started as a learning process. Like for most people, I was dabbling in crypto for a while, and I was like, oh shit, well I want to make money, right? Who doesn't want to make
Yeah.
money? But then the moment when I realized there's something much larger here was people actually building on the Ethereum network, and shortly after that was my, I guess, entrance into the NFT space and
Mm-hmm.
kind of going to like community building and um, resonance in something that you actually own. That makes sense on a basis that is much bigger than just buying an NFT, right? And if
Mm-hmm.
you can make money on the way, that's just a positive. So yeah, I won't dig in too deep because I know you guys have some other questions there as well. But yeah, I've been in the space for about 6 months now, and I've been in crypto for about a year. Ethereum is makes me hard. I want more of it. How can I get it?
Starting to
Where
hear the
are the
pounding.
ETH banks at?
You got any Digimarines out there?
Oh man. But I mean, those are really good points though. I mean, it's like from cultural to like, just being able to create in the space to ownership to like, I mean, I think it just kind of gets crazier and crazier from here. That's why I'm super excited about your guys' project, because like we need good projects coming up, showing people what can be done in the space. That's, unique and new.
Yeah, and we're super excited to you guys mentioned before the fact that we're have the luxury of leaving things unsaid. And
Hmm.
Wawa mentioned touched on this before. It's I think it's relevant and kind of important to bring back up is why do we have the luxury of leaving things unsaid? You're not allowed to do that if you don't have a quality product, right? The
Yeah.
space
No,
is
that's true.
absolutely devoid, starved of quality, and it's fucking sad.
No,
Is
that's a
how
fair.
many
Hmm.
That's a
yeah.
really good point because I feel like, if you don't have a quality product, it's almost like when you feel a little bit insecure about yourself and you do all this talking to like you meet someone for the first time, you're feeling a little bit insecure, like maybe a little socially awkward, and you do all this talking and like a lot of it is just like nonsensical, a lot of it is just like, blabbering whatever, and it's like, you kind of do all of this to make up for what you feel like you don't have, and it's kind of the same thing I feel like with like projects that aren't quality projects, is that they just try to put out as much content as possible, quality lacking, as much content as possible, because like they know what they have and they know what they don't have, and what they don't have is, outweighing what they do have. And I feel like it's the opposite for quality projects. They have the luxury of being able to leave things unsaid because they know that regardless of what people know, what they want people to know, or what people just, know or don't know, they know that people are going to love what they put out because they know exactly what they are and they know that they're high quality.
Oh
and
yeah,
know their
like the
value.
old Chinese philosopher that I knew called Matthias. I
Yeah.
know the old Chinese philosopher Matthias once said, we trust our wings.
Yes.
And not only
Exactly.
do I trust my wings, I'll double down, triple down on the wings of the people on this team. And I think that's really what's gonna, you know, bring not only us but everyone that's a part of this and part of the journey. To Valhalla or the Promised Land or whatever that may be for each person.
Onwards to
At the end
Valhalla.
of the
Oh
day,
yeah.
oh yeah, end of the day, dude, we want people to make money, no shit.
Hmm.
At the end of the day, we want people to also have dope stuff in hand. We want people to be in a community that's fucking awesome and they're happy to be a part of.
Hmm.
Rather, it's not like all right, we use labels. Human beings will use labels to understand things, right? But if a product is
Hmm.
good enough, you don't label it. Um, that's the case in a lot of things. Like if you're seeing an artist, like you're not seeing like this EDM, this rap artist or this jazz artist. You're going to see like I don't know who's the best jazz artist ever. It's like when
Hmm.
someone's good enough, you don't fucking label it,
Hmm.
right? So
It's
Yeah.
just
we're
them.
our attention to quality is gonna be paramount, and we think we're just excited to give you guys some of the dope stuff we've been working on.
No,
Yeah.
it's an interesting point. Like holding on to something and understanding the why gives you so much confidence into like what you're holding on to. Like if I have an NFT and it's just like a pixelated dick or something, like, and all of a sudden the price is like shooting up to like 100 ETH, like I'm just stuck there like fuck yeah, I made a bunch of money, but like I really don't understand why, right? Like if I'm holding on to something that you guys have put out and like it's skyrocketing, the price is skyrocketing, and like I understand why I'm holding it, then like I have confidence to continue to hold like as the price is going up, right? Like there's no part of me that's like I don't really understand what's going on right now. Like why is the price skyrocketing? Like I should just sell because like holy fuck, I made a ton of money. It's like if you understand the why, like you're confident in what you hold.
Yeah, and not to go on too much longer, but just kind of touch on the point of it's something good. That's why we're able to hide. It's also it's the reason why like we don't show the member counts in the Discord right away. Like if you want to go find that stuff out, you totally can. But it's stuff like that, or not pinging you every other hour for something going on, or
Hmm.
not putting out a tweet every other day. Or kind of like bombarding you with these things that make you want to FOMO in because the goal isn't to get you to want to FOMO in. The goal is to get you to want to participate in something that's cool and something that's bigger than number go up. And
Hmm.
I mean, you can even like you just go check out the Discord. I mean, we don't want to like filter anybody too much. We want the gatekeepers there. We want the enthusiastic people. We want the people that are realistic about what's going on. And there is no closed Discord. You don't have to quit your job to go come get in on the Vivid hype.
Hmm.
Come join us when you want to. We got plenty of events, and we're not trying to take over your life. We're just trying to find out where we can fit in it.
Yeah, and like that brings me to I think an announcement that you guys had that I really liked the wording of it. It was like, this isn't a whitelist grinding Discord. If you have a life, Vivid will find its way into it. And I thought that was like really unique. I thought that was really cool. I don't even have that announcement up. Like I'm just going off memory, and I think I read that like
Yeah,
a day or two ago. So
exactly
like
that
it's
actually.
literally like it just stuck with me. I'm like that you guys know what you're doing. So I don't want to keep you guys too long, and I know Matthias, I don't know if you have any other questions you want to ask before they hop off, or if you
No, I
guys have
mean,
time for
I'm sure we could go on for another hour, but we're
yeah.
at an hour and 13, so we won't keep you guys too much longer here. It's amazing. Thanks for stopping by, and I'm super excited.
Yeah, and I also wanted to say like you guys have a great vibe like as a team, like even just like you three on the podcast, like I can tell that you guys all click with each other, and even if we never got to meet on the podcast, I know that like the team is building, and the project so far has been like astonishing. And if you can't tell from like how passionate Matthias and I've been on the podcast, like we love what you guys are putting out and keep doing it. And yeah, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no, thank you
Bro,
so much for having us. And kind of to touch on that. I mean, just one last point. It's when it comes to like our team and whatnot. I mean, we've spent so many hours inside of that Discord, inside of the VC team. We let everybody come and kind of check us out and see what's going on. But I mean, like we've been together for 4, 5, 6, 7, sometimes 8, 12 hours. Just in Discord, working, talking, and it doesn't feel weird. It doesn't feel forced.
Mhm.
I don't think there's been a single interaction where we've kind of, felt like, oh God, like I got to be there, and I didn't get my stuff done or whatever. Everyone's just got it handled, and we're just excited to bring the team and everything else along with us to the forefront and let everyone really absorb what Vivid's going to become.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you guys. Thanks again. And if you guys don't mind, I don't know, I haven't passed this by Mathias yet, but we got allocated
Let's
some
do it.
whitelists. And so I was going to do like a, you know, a little secret whitelist drop here. I'm not even going to announce it on Twitter. If that's cool with you guys. Yeah. So we, you know, if you listen to the podcast, you know, this is the end of the podcast. If you listen to it, just DM me or VIVA Vivid, one of us. And one of us that, and you'll be entered into a whitelist raffle. I'm assuming, you know, it'll be a much smaller pool of raffle participants because you have to actually listen to the podcast. There's not going to be a tweet. So if you DM one of us, Viva La Vivid, you'll be entered in the pool, and in 24 hours we'll raffle it off.
Gangsta.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yo,
we
it's
go.
great talking to
care of
you
the fam.
guys, bro.
Yeah.
It was sweet talking to you guys. I had a great time.
Yeah.
Be in touch.
Yeah.
For
awesome.
sure. Thanks,
Appreciate
guys.
it. Cool.
Thanks, guys.
y'all.
Have a good one.
Get out of your hair.
Yeah.
Hope to see you at the AMA now. Otherwise, I know we talked for a while. But,
Yeah, good luck at the AMA. Hopefully you guys get some water before that.
For
I
sure.
got hydrated. So.
All right, bye guys.
Nice.
Thanks,
Peace, guys.
Thanks, homies. See ya.
Peace.